Hello everyone, we're looking at week 2, assignment 2, and we're looking at some student examples. None of them are perfect, but I think it's good to look at them to learn, from others what we can do to improve. So this is the assignment where we're working on both shooting indoors and outdoors. I've already reviewed some of the details of this in the course home announcements, but basically we're focusing on personality and characters. That's a key aspect. And we're going to take 20 pictures indoors with the studio light plus your reflector. And then we're going to take 20 pictures outdoors just using your reflector as a fill light. Okay, so the key light would be the sun. All right, so keeping that in mind then as we look at the images, let's go back and take a look at some of the work that other students have produced. So here we have the indoor shots. Now there's a couple things about this that are things to think about to improve. First of all, the pose of the model. She's kind of hunched over, so we see quite a big mass of her body right here. So that's something to avoid. Have her sit up straight would be a better option. And then let's look at the lighting. So the lighting is, and unfortunately I don't have a wide shot of lighting, but the lighting looks like it's coming from this side, coming down across the face. It's very low light. So see the shadow right in here? So the shadow is very horizontal. So we want to have the light a little bit of higher angle, more like an angle like this, as I'm gesturing with the mouse. And the other aspect this can improve is the background. You can see the subject is quite close to the background. We can see wrinkles, and if we look at some of the other options that the student shot, we also see how there's detail, distracting detail from the background. So we want to pull our subject out about 6 feet from the background, 4 at the minimum, and use also perhaps a wider aperture to make sure that the background falls out of focus. These were shot at f10, aperture 10, which is an f-stop 10, which is going to be give you pretty good depth of field. All right, so here the light was too low. Reflectors being used to fill in, so we do have a nice fill. One of the aspects about this that makes it at least not have a lot of deep dark shadows is the fill coming back in and covering that side of the face. I would say also the lighting is. We talk lighting from character, it's perhaps a little bit too frontal, so it could be more on the side. Now here's the example, the same image shot outdoors. This is much more successful for a couple reasons. One is that the reflector is used really, really well. So we see the highlight on the hat, so that comes from the sun, coming from behind the subject, and then the reflector is placed in front. Looks like it's placed just underneath the camera. I just want to see for reflection in the eyes. And let's just zoom in there a little bit. So you can see in her eyes, see the catch light? You can see that a little bit of the foam core being used as a reflector in her eyes. So you can see how that's really filled in nicely on her face, and we have a good overall exposure. In this case, the f-stop is f8. It's not too bad. Probably you can go wider so that this background of the flowers falls nicely out of focus. It's okay, but if she was standing perhaps another 3 feet in front, that would work also. So remember that you need to move your subject out in front of the background. By habit, people tend to, when they're beginning, tend to smash their subject right up against the background. You have them right against the wall. You need to really pull them out. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you go. All right, let's take a look at a few more examples. Now these 3 shots are all indoor, and there's a lot of natural light being used, and so the modeling light is not that visible. This one's a little more visible because we can see some of the warmth of the light in the shadows. So when you choose your natural light, this looks like it's almost like there's 3 windows around the person, one in front, one to each side. So the modeling light doesn't really get much use. So this would be one thing to avoid. Remember, you're using your modeling lamp in conjunction with the natural light, so you want to have a roll of some kind. If you just fill the whole room with natural light, then that will be more difficult. And then here's another example. We've got the outdoor, and here the sun is being used as more than a backlight. It's really coming across and lighting the profile of the man's face. And then the reflector's filling in right in this area of their face. So the reflector, though, is less influential because it's farther away from the subject. So the farther away, the less impact it'll have. But there's enough a fill that it's making sure that's not dark shadow. This image is actually a little bit overexposed. You see the white shoes, how white they are? We lost all detail in the highlights. So you need to be careful about that. A little bit too high contrast, this image. Now here's the indoor shot. This is much better done as far as use of the modeling lamp. Look at the angle and the nice triangle we're getting on the cheek. See the shadow is a nice diagonal line, and then the reflectors fill in very nicely on the sides, so don't have too much, too deep of a shadow. All right, so I hope those two examples give you some ideas for your own, things to watch out for. Remember that conceptually we're trying to capture character, and that with light we're working with the modeling lamp and natural light. Natural light uses the reflector.